Mauricio Pochettino never actually won a trophy with Spurs, yet many consider the years when he was manager as some of the best that they've had supporting the club. In today's video, we take a deeper look at Mauricio Pochettino, his career and his time at Tottenham. Pochettino had a long and successful playing career before he became a manager. He was a centre-back and he started out with Argentinian club Newell's Old Boys. He was with them for multiple years and helped them to win a league title, and this didn't go unnoticed by the top 5 leagues in Europe. He was then scouted and transferred over to Espanyol in Spain, who had been newly promoted in 1994. Poch helped to establish Espanyol as a La Liga level team. They comfortably stayed up in their first season back, and over the next few years were sat comfortably mid-table and away from relegation. Poch grew a real connection with the fan base, the culture and the club. But he did move on in 2001 when a huge offer came in from PSG. Pochettino had a good time with the French giants, but his heart was with Espanyol, and he moved back there towards the end of his career and managed to achieve a Copa del Rey, one of the club's first ever trophies. Mauricio Pochettino's managerial career began with the difficult task of saving Espanyol from relegation in January 2009, his first job in management having just received his UEFA Pro licence. Despite the team being third from bottom, he quickly implemented a high-pressing, intense style of play and an emphasis on building from the back, inspired by his mentor Marcelo Bielsa. His impact was immediate. His team secured a vital 0-0 draw with Pep Guardiola's Barcelona in his first game, showing he could also organise a defence, and they eventually finished the season comfortably mid-table, achieving their first league win at the Camp Nou in 27 years. The initial success and his commitment to the club, where he had spent most of his playing career, established him as a very promising young coach in the world of football. The fantastic job that Pochettino was doing in La Liga attracted a lot of interest from other big leagues, one of which was the best league in the world, the Premier League. And when Southampton came calling in January of 2013, Pochettino just couldn't say no. He transformed the club into one of the league's most entertaining sides with a vibrant attacking philosophy characterised by controlled chaos. Pochettino also demonstrated a strong belief in developing youth players, bringing through talents such as Luke Shaw, Adam Lallana and Morgan Schneiderlin, who later thrived at big clubs. Southampton started the season in the relegation battle, but Pochettino steered them away from it and made sure that they comfortably stayed up. His Southampton team picked up some big wins in his first season at the football club. They beat both Manchester City and Liverpool 3-1 at St Mary's, which showcased that Pochettino could tactically outclass some of the best coaches that the league had to offer. The 13-14 season was a great one. In Pochettino's first and only full season at Southampton, he led the team to an 8th place finish, their highest Premier League points tally and position since the early 2000s. This attracted a lot of interest from some of the biggest clubs in the Premier League, as Poch had now shown that he could do it at the top level of English football. Pochettino was appointed Tottenham Hotspur's new head coach on a 5-year contract on May the 27th, 2014, joining from Southampton. It was a huge move for the Argentine, and one that he deserved based on the success he'd had up to this point in his managerial career. It was also a big move for Spurs, as the previous 2 managers had failed and hadn't lived up to the expectations that the owners and fans had for them. It felt like it had to click with Pochettino, but he immediately bought into the culture and the history of the football club. His style of play fit right in at Tottenham Hotspur. But the team was full of ageing players, and Pochettino recognised that he needed to do something about it. He inherited a mismatched squad, and the summer of 2014 saw a significant overhaul in key players leaving the club. The likes of Michael Dawson, Gylfi Sigurdsson, Zeki Fries and Jake Livermore all left. Pochettino recognised that one of the biggest weaknesses at Spurs over the previous few years was the defence, and whilst he wanted to play all-out attacking football, he needed a solid backline to be able to do so. So the likes of Ben Davies, Eric Dyer, Federico Fazio and Michel Vorm all came in to strengthen Tottenham Hotspur's defensive midfield positions and backline positions. Spurs also signed an unknown youngster from MK Dons for $5 million named Dele Alli. Yes, he only cost $5 million, and this showed that Pochettino also wanted to bring through young players at Tottenham Hotspur. It was a solid summer window for Spurs, but not a spectacular one. Many fans were happy that the club had strengthened in defensive areas, but felt like the team was still pretty average on paper and wanted to see the academy boys given a go. Pochettino didn't start the season using them though, and this frustrated many fans. He endured a difficult start to his tenure, with results leading to early pressure on the Argentine and speculation about his job. In November 2014, with the team struggling and the manager fearing for his position, a crucial turning point came in a match against Aston Villa. Tottenham secured a vital 2-1 win with a last-minute goal coming from Harry Kane, a breakout moment for the young English striker who made himself unplayable from this point forward. A moment as well that prompted Pochettino to fully commit to his own philosophy, ditching a cartel of senior players and putting his faith in the club's youth and allowing them to play with freedom. This was the moment the Tottenham season changed, and more importantly, this was the moment that Tottenham Hotspur got going under Mauricio Pochettino. This decision to rely on youth transformed the season and laid the foundations for years of success. Pochettino constantly came out and said that he didn't just want to build a team that could compete in 1 year, but he wanted to build a team that could compete consistently for the biggest prizes possible. He wanted Tottenham to reach new heights that they hadn't reached in the Premier League years. The team grew in confidence as the season went on and the performances only got better. The pressing became more intense, and this season featured a memorable 5-3 victory over Chelsea on January the 1st, 2015. A result that underlined Tottenham's potential to compete with the top teams under Pochettino. Tottenham finished the 14-15 season sat 5th in the Premier League, higher than they had done over the last couple of seasons. They also reached the Carabao Cup final but narrowly lost out to rivals Chelsea 2-0. It was a good first season for Pochettino, but it was clear to fans of the club he wasn't here for the short term. This wasn't a win-now project, this was a long-term plan, and fans bought into it based on the football that he played, the character that he was, and the belief that he had that things would work out. It felt like if Tottenham Hotspur had a big summer in 2015, a big second season was on its way. Tottenham Hotspur's summer 2015 transfer window under Pochettino was characterised by a strategy of acquiring young promising talent with long-term potential rather than established expensive stars. The club made 5 senior signings. The defenders Kieran Trippier, Kevin Wimmer and Toby Alderweireld all joined the club, and the forwards Clinton Njai and Heung-min Son also came to N17. This activity was coupled with the significant clear out of players, including Soldado, Etienne, Capoue and Kabul, which helped to trim the squad size. A major talking point was the public pursuit of West Brom striker Sadio Barino, which ultimately proved unsuccessful after the signing of Heung-min Son. Parts of the fan base felt that the manager hadn't been properly backed, but Pochettino's first few press conferences of the season told us that he was very happy with the summer that the club had had. The signing of Heung-min Son from German club Bayer Leverkusen for a fee of $22 million in August 2015 was a pivotal moment for Tottenham. At the time, the 23-year-old forward was an exciting but relatively unknown talent to many English fans, and some were frustrated when Spurs signed him because they wanted other players, but Mauricio Pochettino made the right call with him. He eventually went on to be a Spurs legend and grow the fan base in Korea and across Asia. The 2015-16 season under Pochettino was a pivotal year for Spurs. They emerged as genuine title contenders for the first time in Premier League history, with a young, vibrant squad and a defined playing philosophy that everyone knew they would see week in week out from Spurs. Tottenham ultimately finished 3rd in the Premier League after slowing down at the back end of the season, but it was considered a highly successful season by most metrics. Securing a return to the Champions League group stage was massive for Spurs. It meant that they would be competing on a weekly basis against the best that Europe had to offer. It would also be very valuable experience for the young side that Tottenham had. It was also a huge financial boost, as Tottenham were looking to build a revolutionary state-of-the-art stadium in the very near future, and needed more money coming in. Spurs finished the season with an impressive 70 points. Only Leicester and their biggest rivals Arsenal had more. It was the second highest total for Tottenham at the time, losing only 6 games all year. Tottenham scored 69 goals and conceded just 35, the second best defensive record in the league. A major highlight of the season was the development of several key players who would become mainstays under Poch. Harry Kane continued his rise, winning the Premier League Golden Boot with 25 goals. He was playing the best football of his career under the Argentine, and it was Pochettino who really got him to the level he needed to be. Dele Alli had a breakout season, contributing 10 goals and 9 assists in the league, winning the PFA Young Player of the Year award. The arrival of Toby Alderweireld was also critical as he formed a formidable central defensive partnership with Jan Vertonghen that would last for multiple years, and Kyle Walker continued his ascent into becoming one of the best right backs in the Premier League. Despite missing out on the title, there was a feeling in the fan base that in the following season, their last at White Hart Lane, Spurs could really kick on and win it. But due to it being their last at White Hart Lane, because of the building and creation of the new stadium, it meant that there was a lack of investment from the owners in Pochettino. Parts of the fanbase could understand it because of this project and the stadium's long-term positive impact on the club, but many were really frustrated. We had a manager that was finally getting things right, that suited the club, that played a beautiful brand of football and just needed a few extra signings to get over the line, and he didn't get them. Despite not getting them though, many fans still believed that Spurs could win the league title in the 16-17 season. In the summer of 2016, Tottenham's transfer activity was restrained. Key incomings included defensive midfielder Victor Wanyama from Southampton for a fee of £14.4 million, striker Vincent Janssen, and winger Georges Kevin Nkudu. Notable outgoings included Federico Fazio and Nabil Bentaleb leaving on loan. Spurs finished as runner-ups in the Premier League, accumulating a then club record 86 points, a significant achievement that showcased their progress under Poch. They were a genuine threat to Antonio Conte's Chelsea, who ultimately finished as champions 7 points ahead. Despite pushing the Blues throughout, Spurs could not overtake them at any point in the table during the crucial final stages of the season. Tottenham demonstrated a champion's mentality at times, but Chelsea was simply too good in the end. It was a good season domestically for Spurs, but in stark contrast it was a terrible one in Europe. The Champions League campaign was underwhelming, and Spurs were knocked out in the group stage after a 2-1 defeat to Monaco with a game still to play. They subsequently dropped into the Europa League, where their run also ended prematurely. The season's highlight was the emotional farewell to Tottenham's home of 118 years, White Hart Lane. Spurs went the entire 16-17 league season unbeaten at home for the first time since the 64-65 campaign. They won 17 and drew 2. It was an incredible home record that made the ground a fortress, and the final match at the Lane was a fitting 2-1 victory over Manchester United. It was a special day to be a Spurs fan, as fans said goodbye to the ground that had served them so many great memories over the years. Missing out on silverware was a disappointment, but the season cemented the bond between fans and Pochettino. The 15-16 season had them believing in the Argentine, and in the 16-17 season, the thrilling football, the record points tally, the development of youngsters and the proud home record made fans fall in love with the manager and his vision. The season is remembered as a time of immense progress and one that had supporters believing in a glorious future for Spurs. The summer of 2017 saw limited spending, with the most notable arrivals being defender Sanchez from Ajax, right back Aurier from PSG, and veteran striker Fernando Llorente from Swansea. The lack of major investment was due to the creation of the new stadium, but it limited Mauricio Pochettino's ability to significantly strengthen the squad, which is what he wanted to do. Despite this, club chairman Daniel Levy maintained that the stadium costs would not directly affect the transfer budget, though he did note that the club could only spend what was available and relied on player sales to increase funds. Many fans were growing more and more frustrated, as Pochettino needed the backing more than ever, and it felt like he was a few signings away from achieving big things. But this was the second summer in a row that he hadn't got the players in that he wanted. The 17-18 season had its highs and lows. A memorable highlight in the Premier League was a dominant 4-1 victory over Liverpool at Wembley in October 2017, widely considered a tactical masterclass by Pochettino. In the Champions League, Spurs performed better than in the previous season, topping a tough group that included Borussia Dortmund and Real Madrid. The match against Madrid at Wembley was a historic 3-1 win for Spurs, an electric night that showcased Tottenham's potential among the European elite. Their European journey ended prematurely though and unexpectedly in the round of 16, where they were eliminated by Italian giant Juventus after surrendering a commanding position in the second leg. The season also included a run to the FA Cup semi-final in which they lost to Manchester United, ending another campaign trophyless. The 18-19 season for Tottenham was a turbulent but ultimately historic campaign. Before it had started though, there was the summer of 2018. The summer saw the club make Premier League history by becoming the first team not to sign a single player in the transfer window, a decision that left manager Mauricio Pochettino with an increasingly stretched and injury-prone squad. Pochettino publicly stated that he had his worst feeling at the club despite a strong start to the season, and the lack of depth began to show as injuries mounted at the start of the season. In the Premier League, Spurs' form was inconsistent, culminating in a 4th place finish with 71 points but a high number of losses with 13. While they were briefly considered title contenders in December, they quickly fell out of the race, solidifying their position as more of a top 4 side rather than genuine title challengers, which they were between the years of 2015 and 2017. But this season Spurs were determined to win silverware. The season's true story unfolded in the Champions League, where Spurs navigated a tough group and defeated both Dortmund and City in dramatic knockout ties. The pinnacle of the season and Pochettino's tenure came in the semi-final second leg against Ajax in Amsterdam. Spurs lost the first leg 1-0 at home and went 2-0 down early on in the second leg. At half-time, Lucas Moura was substituted on for Spurs, and things changed around. Moura scored a stunning second half hat-trick, including a dramatic 95th minute winner to complete an improbable comeback and send Spurs to their first ever Champions League final. The raw emotion showed on the pitch by Pochettino after and in his post-match interview perfectly encapsulated how close he had grown to the club and its fans. The emotional high of Amsterdam was followed by the crushing low of Madrid. An all-English final against Liverpool saw Spurs concede an early penalty and ultimately fall to a 2-0 defeat. The loss in the final felt like a missed opportunity to cap off a remarkable journey with the trophy. Pochettino's team selection was questioned. Should have he played Harry Kane in the final, and was he fully fit? It left everyone associated with the club with a sense of emptiness and the familiar feeling of another trophyless season. In the summer of 2019, the mood at Tottenham Hotspur was a complex mixture of exhaustion and expectation. After reaching the Champions League final and completing a world-class stadium, the board appeared to back Mauricio Pochettino more substantially than in previous windows, smashing the club's transfer record to sign Tanguy Ndombele alongside players such as Giovanni Lo Celso and Ryan Sessegnon. However, the Argentine manager remained visibly frustrated, famously putting pressure on the hierarchy by stating that while the club had built an amazing house, they now needed to put in the furniture to truly compete. He warned that a painful rebuild was necessary to move beyond the club's previous 5-year cycle and start winning trophies. The 2019-2020 season began disastrously, confirming Pochettino's fears that the squad had grown stale. Early domestic form was poor, highlighted by a shock 1-0 home defeat to Newcastle in August. Things grew increasingly bleak in October, when Spurs suffered a historic 7-2 humiliation at their new stadium against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, followed just days later by a demoralising 3-0 loss at Brighton. The team looked disjointed and devoid of their trademark high-pressing energy, with a particularly dismal away record stretching back to the previous season. By November, the sense of an era ending was palpable. Following a turgid 1-1 home draw against Sheffield United on November the 9th, Tottenham sat 14th in the Premier League table with only 3 wins from 12 matches. The performances were poor and the form was poor. On November the 19th, 2019, the board acted and Pochettino was sacked. The reaction among the fanbase was one of profound shock and mourning, as Poch had built an emotional connection with supporters that transcended trophies. While some accepted the necessity of change due to results, many felt the manager who had transformed the club's modern identity deserved more time to oversee the rebuild he had so clearly predicted. Pochettino went trophyless in his 5 years as Tottenham manager. So why is he considered a cult hero in N17? Spurs fans loved Pochettino despite the lack of silverware because he fundamentally transformed the club from being an inconsistent side and turned them into a consistent top 4 competitor and team, delivering an exhilarating style of play and developing world-class talent on a limited budget. His tenure from 2014 to 2019 is remembered for its emotional connection, high-pressing Spurs DNA football and overachieving in the face of financial restrictions. I will always consider Pochettino a Spurs legend, and hopefully one day he returns to the Lilywhites. Because he's magic, you know.